Welcome back to our deep dive discussion into poetry. Last month we covered the Japanese haiku, talking about the history and the structure of the poetic form. We also learned about lines and stanzas, which helped provide a better understanding for the structure of the haiku. This month, with November being a time usually focused on gratitude and giving thanks, I wanted to turn our attention to two new forms of poetry. Yes, that's right, you heard me correctly. We're going to be doing a double feature. Now, if only because this month's form really goes hand in hand. This month we are taking a look at the ode and the meditation. Both styles are meant to be focuses centered on a central theme or idea. Maybe that idea is an object, or maybe it's a memory, or even a person. The goal is to put in as much sensory detail as possible while keeping to the structure of the form. And that brings us to the term that we want to incorporate into this month's lesson: sensory detail. This is where you incorporate the strongest descriptions for what you as the poet want your audience, your reader, to imagine seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. There are other senses than just those five, like the sense of balance and gravity, but for now, let's keep things simple. The more detail you can provide for one of those senses, the more tangible it will become for the audience. Here's an example. Don't just say you smell smoke. Describe the fragrance or the odor of the smoke. Different sources provide different smells. Like if you fire off a gun, the smoke is going to smell of brimstone and fire and sulfur and cordite. If you describe its appearance and movement, it's not just smoke, it's a hazy gray vapor coiling out of the barrel of the firearm. Maybe the ethereal tendrils twist and dance in an elegant ballet as the gunpowder residue evanesces through the air. If you describe the way it makes you feel, you can describe how its presence might fill you with a sense of dread or excitement depending on the context of why the gun was fired in the first place. Ernest Hemingway was a fantastic writer for this very reason, because he could go on about a sensory detail and just draw in readers with his descriptions. Now, before we jump into the structures of our poetic forms for this month, I wanted to touch on something that needs addressing. Back in May of 2019, I did a video for Creators Corner about avoiding passive language and showing, not telling. I want to actually go back and make a correction on that video right here and now. Going through college and taking my creative writing courses for my degree, I had professors and fellow students all telling me, show, don't tell. And it was something I took to heart, and quite honestly, it has helped me become a better writer. But I've come to learn that that particular adage actually has nothing to do with writing for stories or novels or even poetry. It's actually an instruction that comes from filmmaking. Far too often, directors will shoot scenes where the characters tell the audience a whole bunch of information, and it becomes this info dump. And the instruction was meant to actually have them incorporate all of that crucial information into the camera work to let the camera show so the characters wouldn't tell. Unnecessary exposition bogs down dialogue in movies, but it is 100% necessary for writing narrative and in writing poetry. With that being said, let's dive into odes and meditations. Odes are thousands of years old, and the form's name comes from an ancient Greek word meaning song. Odes are lyrical poems with an irregular meter, meaning lines can run longer or shorter depending on the needs of the poet. That's you. They are elaborately structured and used for praising or glorifying an event or a person, and because of the song-like nature of the style, rhyming is common, but it's not required. Here's an example of an ode from my book, The Lover, the Fighter, and the Philosopher. It's called Ode to Vera. Ode to Vera. You are tantalizingly out of tune, almost out of line. Your black zippered nylon covering is easily removed before I play you. Curvaceous body, your hips are evenly spaced, though your shoulders are uneven, dipping one lower as if to cradle it over my leg. As you hang about my neck and across my lap. Long neck, fretted and dotted with simple tattoos of musical scale, a high-strung head ready to be keyed. 1 string, 2 string, with 4 strings more. The G string is the one that constantly falls from pitch and gives me trouble before I play on you, with you. And like a gun blasting out sudden bullets of chords and notes, rapid-fire music coats the walls and ceilings of my apartment. Musician and instrument moving like a song, flowing like a melody, adding harmony, rhythm, and rhyme to me and you before our time and composition are through. When it's over, I place you, my guitar, back into your synthetic womb. Meditations are similar to odes in that they focus on an event or person or a larger memory or experience. The biggest difference is the length. Odes are relatively short. Think in terms of songs which only last for a few short stanzas. Meditations are far longer, lasting for several lengthy stanzas, even a few pages. Meditations are stream of consciousness, writing and letting your mind and words flow without any thought towards structure, stanza, or line length, or any regard for rhyme, meter, or the things of that particular nature. The funny thing is that the meditation itself can veer in different topical directions so long as you circle back to the primary focus. Here are 3 tips for writing either one of these forms. First, make sure that you focus on as much concrete imagery as possible. Don't say something sounded good or sounded sweet. How did it sound good? Or how sweet was the song? Was it melodic, like the song played by an expert harpist? Was it enticing, like the voice of the sirens luring you seaward into their blessed demise? Be as detailed as possible. Tip 2, don't focus on the length of your lines, or if you're writing a meditation, your stanzas. Just write without structure and let the lines flow as they will. And lastly, tip 3, don't worry about rhyming. If something pops up naturally or organically on its own, great. Go with that. But don't go out of your way to add any rhyming into your poem. So, I like to give a prompt, and here it is. Since we are getting into the holidays, write an ode or a meditation about your favorite holiday. Describe in detail why this is your favorite holiday. Describe in detail who shows up to celebrate and how you and your friends and family go about the celebration. Give glimpses of the traditions and how they're practiced. When you're done, you can connect with me on X or Instagram at gkj_publishing or by emailing me at gkjpublishing@gmail.com. I would love to read your poetry and give you feedback on anything that you send me.